Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, the Honorable Miss Ria Yunita MPD and our dear friends. My name is Rizka Nurziza Rozela and my partner is Ria Ahmadi Niko Perdana. We will present about strategies for instruction leading to principal learning. The first one will be explained by me about a review of principal learning. Principle that prescribe the relationship among two or more concepts. These relationships are often described in the form of an if-then or cause-effect relationship. Next, example of principle. There are 5 points example of principle. Number 1, mechanics, power of work or time. Number 2, sociology. A society undergoes industrialization. Number 3, statistics. The mean, median, and mode of the distribution are the same. Number 4, optics. The greater the curvature of contact lens, the shorter the focal length. And the last one, mathematics. The associative property in addition can be represented. Okay, next, a review of principal learning. These concepts are often in the form of variable vectors that can have many values. The application of a principle enables learners to predict has will happen if one of the variables is changed. Principles also allow the learners to explain what has happened. The acquisition of the principle of a principle should not be confused with the ability to state that principle. The ability to state a principle is declarative knowledge learning. A real benefit of thinking of types of learning during the analysis phase is cognitive processes of learning principle. The cognitive processes underlying knowing a principle can be identified in the production associated with them if the situation described involves key concept A and if the situation described involves key concept B. Then rule Q applies in this case or concept recognition. The principle explains the relationship of these two concepts. If concept A changes in direction R with magnitude of Z, then concept B will change in direction M with a magnitude of N. Next, condition supporting learning principle. Both Taba 1967 and Suchman 1964 suggested ways in which inquiry methods may be used in teaching rules. In her model of inquiry teaching, Suchman suggests the following instructional process. Number 1, present the learners with a puzzling situation that shows the relationship between the variable. Number 2, allow learners to ask the teacher or a intelligent computer question about the situation that can be answered in the form of yes or no. Number 3, at the conclusion of the experience, and the last one, learners should also be encouraged to discuss the inquiry process itself. Okay, next introduction. Uh, there are have 4 points. Number one, deploy attention. Number two, establish instructional purpose. Number three, arouse interest and motivation. And number four, preview lesson. Okay, next body. This wait. Okay, the next material will be explained by Rian Ahmadini Kopradana. Rian, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I will introduce myself. My name is Rian Ahmadini Kopradana and I am from Group 11. And I will explain and continue the presentation on the body. And the first part is recall your relevant prior knowledge. The most critical prior knowledge to acquisition of a principle is acquisition of the concept underlying the principle. Learners should have more than declarative knowledge of the concept. And for example, they should be able to apply the concept, not just state its definition or characteristic. And then process information and example. If the principle is stated first, it is usually stated in an if-then form. Although other way of stating this generality are also acceptable. Example of statement of a principle include the following. The first is if a stem has complete perforation, then it is more valuable than if it has incomplete perforation. Second is if a musical phrase contains a crescendo, then begin the phrase singing at the volume indicated and gradually increase the volume to the level indicated by the music. If a plant's leaves are dropping and its soil is dry to the touch, then water it. And last is if a water break out on the kitchen stove and the material that is burning is grease, they don't spray it with water, but do cut off the oxygen to the fire. For example, the tighter a string is pulled, the higher its pitch when plucked. This principle could be demonstrated by the instructor or directly experienced by learners who are given string or rubber bands. Often, instruction may include demonstration first and then direct experience. Generally, learners find direct experience more engaging and interesting. Then the next is focus attention. Learning may require assistance in determining which concepts are being related by the principle and how the concepts are related. Evaluate feedback. Feedback varies for each type of practice question. Feedback might also include identification of extraneous or incorrect information included in the statement of the principle. Conclusion. The conclusion. The conclusion of a principle learning lesson should allow learners the opportunity to consolidate their learning into a form that can be really applied in a variety of circumstances and that can be transferred to a higher order learning tasks such as problem solving. Then summarize and review. A summary and review of a rule learning task should include paraphrase restatement of the principle from the original statement in the lesson. And then transfer knowledge. The most common transfers transfer of a principle, it is application in concert with other rules in problem solving situation. And then remove, remotivate, and close. Remotivation in the lesson may be supported by learner identifying the relevance of the principles application in their later interaction or in their daily life. And then last is assessment of principle application. Assessment of principle application may include the following types of item. First is starting the principle, and second is recognizing situation in which the principle is applicable, and the third is applying the principle, and the fourth is determining whether a principle has been correctly applied. And one limitation of this type of recognition item is limited number of options, which make it possible for learner to determine the answer either through guessing or elimination while being unable to solve the item in production form. Principal use cannot princip, principal use cannot be assessed with recall item because recall item tests strictly recall of information, not its application. However, principal use has component declarative knowledge, such as the verbal statement of a principle that can be tested in a recall format. Okay, I think that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, I will explain about the preview of an example lesson principle application. Text analysis. This lesson focuses on the grammar rule that guides the selections of who, which, or that in a sentence such as the Mozart Mass in C is sometimes called the Coronation Mass, was written in 1779. Objective: given a sentence with a blank in it, the learner will determine whether the pronoun who, which, or that is appropriate for filling in the blank. Production: if the noun referent is a person, then use the pronoun who. If the noun referent is an animal, object, or idea, and if the pronoun begins a non-restrictive clause, then use the pronoun which. If the noun referent is an animal, object, or idea, and if the pronoun begins a restrictive clause, then use the pronoun that. Okay, next, learners. This class is an elective course for programs from such diverse subject matter areas as science, sociology, nursing, and English. Okay, and last one, context. Instructional management system in which students receive individualized instruction for some components of the course and group delivered instruction for other segment. Okay, I think enough. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.